Hey, OBLers, thanks again for tuning in. It's Ronnie. Just wanted to let you know I just saw The Color Purple. I know that it debuted actually on Christmas Day. I didn't see it on Christmas Day. I ended up seeing a different movie, and that's another video. I'll talk about that. But I did see it today, so it's the day after Christmas for those that celebrate that. And for everyone else, the Festivus for the rest of us, or if it's just simply winter break for you, you can enjoy that too. But I found The Color Purple, the remake, ultimately to be a good movie. I thought that it was solid, and it really is circuitous for me because, like many of us, I saw this movie as a kid. A lot of us grew up with this over time, and it made such an indelible impression, the original version of The Color Purple, that it's almost like you got to be careful. You know, you have to be careful with trying to do a reboot because it's pretty notorious that reboots, remakes, oftentimes are criticized and they're never really seen as being as good as the original. When you have a classic, when you have a masterpiece, you know, it's almost like what else can one contribute? But I believe that one could really contribute something well. Now, it's been such a while since I've actually seen the original movie that I would have to see it today as an adult really to appreciate it. There were just certain scenes that stood out growing up, such as the scene with Celie, played then by Whoopi Goldberg, when she's with her husband and was about to cut him. You know, she thought about cutting him clearly when she was shaving him because Suge was arriving again. And certainly at the dinner table, when she had just had enough, she was emotionally flooded and just wanted to effectively gut that husband of hers, played then by Danny Glover. So scenes like that stood out. Of course, Oprah's scene back in the day when she played Sophia, you told Harpo to beat me. Like, those are just, they're memes that it was a moment in time and it just reverberated. And those scenes came back in many ways in this original movie. What I love about, or this new movie, what I love about the remake, the musical, is just the sense of empowerment. I'm sure it was there as well too in the original movie, but appreciating this film as an adult now, with the perspective of myself, having grown up in a house that had domestic violence, having been subjected to an authoritarian father, and a father that definitely had his own aggressiveness and things that I talk about in my book White Girl Within. I talk about that there. Seeing in this movie, one enduring the kind of domestic violence, the aggressiveness, the abuse, like the new Celie does, played by Fantasia, and I love Fantasia, was just great. It was excellent. She endured the onslaught with such grace and humility. The acting was really well measured. There was a constraint that was there, and that constraint juxtaposed really well with Taraji P. Henson's Suge. I mean, I had already seen a brief glimpse of a review of The Color Purple just before I saw it, and it said that Taraji P. Henson stole the movie. She stole the show effectively. I'd have to agree with that in a lot of places. Now, I know that there's a spoiler alert, so if you haven't yet seen The Color Purple, the new version, or even the original version, definitely, take that into consideration as you listen to this. But I felt that ultimately, Fantasia Celie really did show her outpouring of emotion. Really nice character arc, especially by the end of the movie. Love the empowerment. And I really love the musical number, the Hell Nah musical number, where you had the women, they wove it into the choreography where they were like, not like rolling their necks and just said, hell no, that they're going to stand up to physical abuse, that they're not going to allow for that to happen. They're not going to just be subjugated. And these are women standing up, in a time period that was in the first half of the 20th century. So that really takes things into effect. I mean, that was years before domestic violence laws. went into effect, which would have been late 70s, early 80s. That was years before women, let alone women of color, were really advancing towards the kind of empowerment collectively that they had. You know, I mean, a lot of that came really after the Second World War. And the movie, the arc of it, looks like it pretty much culminates by the late 40s. So just around the time when the World War II had ended, and then there's, you know, all of this affluence and wealth, et cetera, that the U.S. ultimately had, but it would take some time before you would really see more of the gains in the civil rights that gained steam in the 1950s and the 1960s. So seeing what would have been the lead up to that empowerment on many fronts, as well relating to feminism as much as to race, and ultimately to intersectionality, and just seeing what would have been essentially second wave / third wave feminism unfolding, really empowering. You know, I love that. I loved how Celie was able to become a property owner. I love how Celie's husband in the film was able to have been reined in the way he needed to have been, and that would have been Coleman Domingo playing Albert, playing Mr., which was at the earlier version the Danny Glover character. So I just love that. Now, I saw another review, brief review, it was on TikTok of The Color Purple, and the content creator said that he thought that there was a bit of a struggle between balancing the dramatic content with the musical. And I have to say, I agree with that, especially in the earlier part of the movie, because there was one musical number after the next. And I get that in the initial part of the movie, you're setting the tone so that it makes sense for you to weave in that golden thread later on in the arc of the film. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there were definitely good numbers, really good music. There was some good cinematography. I mean, the trees, the Spanish moss trees, that's what it looked like. I mean, those trees almost upstaged some of the actors in some ways. I mean, the nature was just breathtaking, was stunning in a number of ways. But yeah, I felt that there was a little bit of a struggle with balancing that. And maybe it's because, like I said, I saw the original movie in the past, but yeah, I did feel like I was more drawn to the dramatic content, to the dramatic effects. But nevertheless, I think it worked out well. And some of the parts of the film where I think the musical really worked well was, as I mentioned, with the Hell Nah scene. You got to see that, how they made that a musical number. Also with Taraji P. Henson, with her playing Suge and making her entrance into what had become the nightclub. Her in that was just rave. I mean, she's wearing red feathers, red boa. She's got on a fantastic red dress. I mean, she really is just stunning in the scene and just throughout the entire film, and such a positive change maker, a positive change agent and the such. And you almost see this kind of transfer between the Suge character played by Taraji P. Henson and that of Celie played by Fantasia. It's kind of like Suge had goodness, for lack of a better term, to pour into Celie, and you could see Celie filling her cup. You know, this movie is produced by Oprah, and Oprah has always talked about, you know, her cup being full. And in order for her to be successful, to be useful, she's got to have her own cup full, her proverbial cup full. And that's in response to folks criticizing her, saying, "Oh, you're so full of yourself." You know, and she's turning that around and saying, "Yes, actually, I am full of myself, and I'm glad to be full of myself, because that means that my cup is full and I have something to contribute to the world." And whereas Celie's character in this new movie, really both films, was so disempowered otherwise, ultimately finds this change agent in Suge, you really see her cup being full, which is fantastic seeing that. And along the way to filling that cup, we also see how Celie, once again in this new movie, fills up the glass of Mister's father, and she puts a little special sweetener in there. Yeah, you know exactly what I mean. A little bit of a loogie she puts into that, and it's obviously disgusting, but that is a midpoint, I'd say, in her really beginning to rail against the machine. As much her going against Mister as she is obviously patriarchy at that time. So I love that. And you know, of course, I mean, this channel, Our Best Letters, we're here for a better life. We're here to help to make the lives of others better. And we talk about doing that one moment at a time, which translates into one letter at a time, so to speak, you know, and it ultimately becomes the book that is read, the book that will be our lives, that will be read at some point. And we know this movie is based on the actual Pulitzer Prize winning novel, The Color Purple by Alice Walker. So there's that. We love that literary connection. But we also like, too, in terms of actual letters, of course, the letters from Nettie, Celie's sister, show up, of course, in the film. And that's one of the other seminal parts of the original movie that I remember, is having a lot of different letters that ultimately are discovered. And the letters do become what? This major change agent. The letters actually help to link Celie back to Nettie, and in doing that, making the discovery and not just getting back to her sister, but also to Celie's children and Celie's grandchildren. And it even led to having some sort of reformed behavior by Mister. And maybe I'm just a little bit hard driving or hard going, where I have a problem with just forgiving. Not that I'm not capable of it, but I feel like there should have been more justice for Mister, just like I'd want to see more justice for anyone else that would inflict that kind of domestic violence onto someone. The onslaught for years and years. I mean, the time span from like 1909 or 1909, I think it is, when Celie is first married in the film, and that unfolding into the 30s, I think even into the 40s. I mean, that's just too long of a time to be in prison like that, which is just crazy. But I love the connection to the letters nevertheless. And my own book, White Girl Within, is epistolary in that way. It's largely made up of a series of letters between what I have said is my internalized white female identity in communication with this externalized black male lyric that's there. So I find that there's some really cool connections there with the epistolary, and just seeing that in the movie as a motif, you know, as a kind of a trope even, I just really appreciated that. So all in all, yeah, this movie was nice, and it really took me back to parts of my childhood just as much as it helps me to appreciate things as an adult and being able to just frame up situations. So in short, I think that you'll like it. I mean, if you like musicals, if you like really good singing, you like really good choreography, that you're going to get that in The Color Purple. And if you like Taraji P. Henson, if you like Fantasia, if you like Halle Bailey, if you like Danielle Brooks, etc., I think that you will like the film, as well as other notables. And even Whoopi Goldberg actually does make a cameo in the film. I won't say anything about it here. You just have to just check it out for yourself and see it. But it's a really nice way to round out the arc. We'll just say that much. So there's a clue right there in terms of what that looks like. So yeah, this was a good film. I love this. And, you know, in this particular video, we've touched very briefly on notions of domestic violence, on notions of empowerment, you know, of notions of social justice, and notions of the literature. And I would love to continue to build upon this discussion in your school, in your college, in your university, in your nonprofit, wherever that may be. And you can invite me to speak, and just check me out at ronniegladden.com to do so. That's also available on this channel as well. I'd love to talk more about that. And I'd love for you to check out my own book as well too, which also deals with notions of empowerment, etc. White Girl Within. So thanks so much for being here and checking this out, OBLers. We definitely want to do better. We have to know better, to do better. And hopefully you've learned a little bit more about this film and that you will check it out. So thanks so much for being here. Happy holidays. Have a great new year. By the time this is posted, it likely already will be 2024. So just have a great 2024 and beyond. All right. See you. Comment, like, subscribe, leave your email address, obl.com, by the way, too. Check out the website for this channel, obl.com. So do all that and send me a letter. All right. See you.